I stood at the altar watching Amanda walk down the aisle, her white dress trailing behind her like a cloud. The church was decorated with pink roses and white lilies, just as she had wanted. Everything was perfect, from the string quartet playing our favorite song to the genuine smiles on our friends' faces. I had worked overtime for months to give her this dream wedding despite my humble background. Amanda came from money, but that never mattered to us, or so I thought. During the reception, her mother Barbara stood up, glass in hand. She looked directly at me, her lips curling into a sneer. "This poor boy thinks he can provide for my daughter. She is just using him until someone better comes along." To my horror, Amanda laughed along with her. I stayed silent, heart-shattering. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to stick around to see how I turned this humiliating moment into the greatest victory of my life. I met Amanda at a charity fundraiser 2 years ago. I was not a guest, but the IT specialist, setting up the audio-visual equipment. As I was adjusting the sound system, I noticed her across the room. Amanda was stunning in her blue cocktail dress, hair cascading over her shoulders as she laughed with friends. When the microphone malfunctioned during speeches, she caught my eye with a pleading look. I fixed it quickly, and afterward, she approached to thank me. "I am Isaac, a regular guy who grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Boston. My parents taught English and worked as a mechanic, honest jobs that paid the bills but left little for luxuries. I put myself through college with scholarships and night jobs, eventually building a small but promising career in IT. Amanda was different. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels before passing away, leaving her mother Barbara in control of the family fortune. Amanda worked in marketing for her family business more as a formality than necessity. Despite our different backgrounds, we hit it off immediately. Our romance moved quickly. After 3 dates, I knew she was special. By 6 months, we were talking about marriage. Barbara, however, made her disapproval clear from our first introduction. She would examine my clothes with a subtle grimace or ask pointed questions about my career prospects. When I asked about my mother's jewelry store, that was nice, but nothing compared to the places that she shops, Amanda assured me. "My mother will come around once she sees how happy you make me." The wedding planning brought constant tension. Barbara insisted on an exclusive venue that cost more than I made in a year. She would make comments like, "Should not Amanda have the best? Surely you want that for her." Each time I swallowed my pride and found ways to make it happen, working extra projects and dipping into my savings for startup capital. I was determined to prove I could provide for Amanda without Barbara's help. The wedding ceremony itself was beautiful. As Amanda said "I do," I thought perhaps Barbara would finally accept me. The reception started wonderfully too. Our first dance, the delicious dinner, the touching toast from my best friend Jake. Then Barbara clinked her glass and stood. "I would like to say a few words about my new son-in-law," she announced, her voice dripping with false warmth. When Amanda first brought Isaac home, I was concerned. This poor boy. I thought, what could he possibly offer my daughter? She deserves someone established, someone with a real future. Barbara paused for effect, looking around the room. But Amanda insisted she saw potential in him. Perhaps she is just using him until someone better comes along. Laughter rippled through the room, led by Barbara. I froze, waiting for Amanda to defend me. Instead, she giggled alongside her mother, squeezing my hand as if to say, "Just take the joke." In that moment, something inside me went cold. I had spent thousands of dollars I could not really afford, endured countless small humiliations, all to please a woman who would laugh at my expense on what should have been the happiest day of our lives. I considered making a scene, but chose dignity instead. I smiled, tightly raised my glass, and took a sip of champagne. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of painful smiles and hollow congratulations. Jake pulled me aside near the end of the night. "Dude, that was messed up," he whispered. "You okay?" "Just great," I replied, my voice flat. "Just perfect." Later in our hotel suite, I confronted Amanda. She was removing her makeup, the white dress now hanging in the closet. "How could you laugh at that?" I asked quietly. She rolled her eyes. "It was just a joke, Isaac. Do not be so sensitive. Mom was trying to be funny." By humiliating me in front of everyone we know, you always overreact to her comments. She is just protective of me. Can we not just enjoy our wedding night without another argument about my mother? I fell silent, a new understanding dawning. This would be my life now, always the butt of the joke, never truly respected. I lay awake that night, Amanda sleeping soundly beside me, and began to plan. Our honeymoon in Hawaii should have been romantic, but Amanda spent most of it texting Barbara or complaining about the resort despite it being the most expensive one I could afford. I tried to salvage our trip with sunset cruises and private dinners, but her mind seemed elsewhere. When we returned home to our modest apartment, the complaints began in earnest. "When are we going to get a real house?" she asked one evening, scrolling through luxury real estate listings. "Mom says we should be looking in Westbrook Heights. She knows the best realtor." Westbrook Heights was the most exclusive neighborhood in town where homes started at 7 figures. On my IT specialist salary, it was a fantasy. "We need to save first," I explained reasonably. "I have some promising projects that could increase my income, but these things take time." She sighed dramatically. Mom was right. "You really do not have ambition, do you?" These comments became more frequent. My clothes were not stylish enough. My car was embarrassing. My career lacked prestige. It was as if marriage had removed any need to pretend she valued me for more than financial potential. Then came the revelation that changed everything. Amanda had left her laptop open while showering. A notification pinged from her mother. Normally, I would never invade her privacy, but the preview caught my eye. "Did you convince Isaac about the house?" Yet I clicked on the message and found months of conversations that made my blood run cold. They had planned this all along. Amanda to Barbara. "He has no idea about the prenup loophole. In 5 years I can file for divorce and get half of everything plus alimony based on his potential earnings." Barbara to Amanda. "Just make sure he buys property in my neighborhood. My friend at the bank can ensure the loan goes through despite his mediocre finances. Once he is locked in with a mortgage he can barely afford, he will work himself to death trying to keep you happy." There it was, the truth I had refused to see. I was nothing but a long-term investment to them, a workhorse they planned to exploit and discard. I closed the laptop feeling oddly calm despite the betrayal. Instead of confrontation, I chose strategy. That night I told Amanda I was taking on extra projects that would require late nights at the office. She was delighted, assuming it meant more money. In reality, I had been working with Jake on a startup for months, a cybersecurity solution for small businesses. With this new motivation, I doubled my efforts. For weeks, I maintained the facade of a dutiful husband, while secretly building my escape. Amanda grew increasingly demanding, interpreting my agreeable attitude as submission. She and Barbara would have lunch and return with lists of houses I should consider furniture. I should buy cars that would not embarrass them. I smiled and nodded, all while pouring my energy into the startup. Jake was confused by my intensity, but supportive. "Dude, you are coding like your life depends on it," he said one night as we worked in his garage. "In a way it does," I replied, not elaborating further. The breakthrough came 3 months after our wedding. A major venture capital firm showed interest in our security solution. After a tense pitch meeting, they offered $2 million for a 30% stake. Jake was ecstatic, dancing around the conference room after the investors left. "Did you hear what they said about market potential?" he shouted. "We could be looking at tens of millions in a few years." I was quieter in my celebration, already calculating my next moves. That weekend, I told Amanda I needed to visit my parents, a rare request she readily granted, since it meant she could have a spa weekend with Barbara. Instead, I met with real estate agents and found the perfect house. Not in Westbrook Heights, but in Lakeview Estates, an even more exclusive community with better views and larger properties. The house was magnificent, modern with clean lines floor to ceiling, windows overlooking the lake, and smart home features throughout. At $4.8 million, it was beyond anything Amanda and Barbara had dreamed for me. I made an all-cash offer from a new account Barbara had no knowledge of. While waiting for closing, I met with lawyers to protect my assets and prepare for what was coming. I arranged everything meticulously, ensuring the house was perfectly furnished and stocked. I even hired staff, including Tom, a former military friend who needed work, and would serve as security. Meanwhile, Amanda and Barbara grew bolder in their manipulation. At dinner with her extended family, Barbara raised her glass. To Isaac, she announced, "Who we hope will finally become the provider my daughter deserves. Perhaps by next year he will afford a home worthy of an Armstrong." Everyone laughed, including Amanda. I smiled and raised my glass. "Perhaps sooner than you think." Amanda misinterpreted my confidence as submission to their pressure. The following week, she and Barbara ambushed me with brochures for a house in Westbrook Heights. "We have already spoken to the seller," Amanda announced smugly. "They will accept $100,000 below asking price as a favor to Mom. All you need to do is sign the papers." Barbara nodded. "Consider it my gift to you both. Of course, the mortgage will be in your name, Isaac. A man should provide for his family, after all." I pretended to review the materials, then set them aside. "Actually, I have been looking at properties too. I would like to show you something this weekend." They exchanged surprised glances, clearly not expecting compliance. That Saturday, I drove them to Lakeview Estates. As we passed through the gates with their elaborate water features and private security, Barbara's eyebrows rose appreciatively. "This is even better than Westbrook," she whispered to Amanda, not bothering to lower her voice enough to prevent me from hearing. "Perhaps he is not as hopeless as we thought." I pulled up to the magnificent lakefront property with its grand circular driveway and sculptured gardens. Amanda gasped audibly. "Isaac, what are we doing here?" she asked. "We cannot afford to even look at places like this. I just want your opinion," I said mildly, leading them to the front door. Barbara snorted. "This is cruel, Isaac. Showing my daughter things you can never give her. This house must cost $5 million at least." "4.8 actually," I replied, pulling out a key and unlocking the door. Their confusion was palpable as I led them inside. The entryway opened to a great room with soaring ceilings and panoramic lake views. Every detail was perfect, from the imported marble floors to the custom lighting. I had spent weeks ensuring everything was flawless. "Why do you have a key?" Amanda asked, her voice small and uncertain. Barbara recovered first, her mind making connections. "You are not the buyer. You must be doing IT work for whoever purchased this place." "That makes more sense." I walked to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, pulling out 3 champagne flutes and an expensive bottle Amanda had once mentioned, coveting. As I poured, I said nothing, letting the tension build. "Isaac, explain yourself," Barbara demanded, though her commanding tone had an edge of worry now. I handed each of them a glass, then raised mine. "To new beginnings," I said simply. Amanda looked around, confusion giving way to greedy hope. "Isaac, please tell me this is not some cruel joke." "Is this really ours?" I took a sip of champagne, savoring the moment. "Not ours, Amanda. Mine." Barbara laughed uncertainly. "Do not be ridiculous. How could you possibly afford this place?" Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out my phone and played the recording I had made weeks ago. Amanda's voice filled the room. "He has no idea about the prenup loophole. In 5 years, I can file for divorce and get half of everything plus alimony." The color drained from both their faces. Amanda took a step toward me, tears already forming. "Isaac, I can explain." It was not what it sounded like. I held up my hand. "Save it." I know exactly what it was. A long con with me as the mark. "Unfortunately for you both, I figured it out before you could execute your plan." Barbara shifted tactics immediately. "Isaac, darling, we were just concerned about Amanda's future. Surely you understand a mother's worry. But look at you now. I always knew you had this potential." "This changes everything." "You are right about that," I agreed. "This does change everything. My attorney has already filed for an annulment on grounds of fraud. The papers are being delivered to our apartment tomorrow." Amanda began to cry in earnest, now moving toward me with practiced vulnerability. "Isaac, please. I love you. I really do. Whatever you heard was just talk. Meaningless talk." I stepped back from her reach. "Then you will not mind signing a post-nuptial agreement today." "My lawyer is on standby." Barbara placed her glass down carefully. "This is all very dramatic and unnecessary. Let us all calm down and discuss this rationally, like family." "We are not family," I replied evenly. "We never were." I was just a resource to you both, and now I would like you to leave my house." As if on cue, Tom appeared from the security office. 6'4" of solid muscle. His presence was impossible to ignore. "I believe Mr. Gray has asked you to leave," he said politely but firmly. "You cannot do this," Barbara hissed, her composed facade crumbling. "After everything we have done for you," I laughed for the first time in months. "What exactly have you done for me, except humiliate and conspire against me? The annulment will be granted, Amanda. You will get nothing. The prenup you insisted on actually protects me in cases of fraud." Amanda lunged forward, suddenly slapping me hard across the face. "You will regret this," she screamed. "No one rejects an Armstrong." Tom stepped between us immediately. "That is assault, ma'am," he said calmly. "Please exit the property now, or I will be forced to call the police." I watched dispassionately as Tom escorted them out, Barbara threatening lawsuits, and Amanda alternating between tears and rage. As the door closed behind them, I felt no triumph, only a hollow ache where love should have been. The first few nights in my beautiful new house were surprisingly difficult. I had won, but the victory felt empty. Enormous rooms with perfect furniture could not fill the void of betrayal. I would wake at night half expecting to find Amanda beside me, then remembering everything with a fresh wave of pain. Jake was my lifeline during those dark weeks. He would come over with takeout and force me to talk about something other than the disaster of my 3-month marriage. "You know what the worst part is?" I told him one evening as we sat on my deck overlooking the lake. "I really did love her. Everything I did was to build a future for us." Jake nodded sympathetically. "She did not deserve you, man. Never did. But look at what you built despite her. This company is going to be massive." He was right. While my personal life had imploded, our startup was thriving. The security solution we had developed was generating interest from major corporations. We hired staff, moved into proper offices, and watched our valuation climb. Still, I felt broken. At Jake's insistence, I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Winters, who helped me process the betrayal without becoming bitter. "What Amanda and Barbara did reflects on their character, not your worth," she reminded me in every session. "Your response will determine who you become moving forward." Slowly, I rebuilt my sense of self. I reconnected with old friends, developed new hobbies, and found purpose in work beyond proving my worth to people who never truly valued me. 6 months after the split, I was having coffee at a local shop when I spilled my drink on a woman at the next table. Mortified, I offered to pay for dry cleaning. "Do not worry about it," she laughed, blotting her sweater. "This is why I never wear white to coffee shops." Her name was Catherine, a pediatric nurse, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. We talked for an hour, about everything except my failed marriage. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of interest in someone new, though I was careful not to rush. We exchanged numbers, and I called her a week later to invite her to dinner. Our relationship developed slowly, based on mutual respect and honest communication. I was hesitant to trust again, and Catherine never pushed. "I am not in a hurry," she said after I explained my reluctance to move quickly. "Good things are worth waiting for." 8 months into our new relationship, I was grocery shopping when I ran into Amanda. She looked thinner, her designer clothes replaced with something more modest. "Isaac," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. "How are you?" "I am well," I replied politely. "And you?" She glanced down at her cart with its store-brand items. "I am staying with Mom now, working at her friend's gallery. It is not marketing, but it is a job." I nodded, unsure what to say. "I heard your company is doing really well," she continued. "The news mentioned a major deal with that big tech firm." "Yes, things are going well," I acknowledged. She touched my arm hesitantly. "Isaac, I made a terrible mistake. I know that now. Mom and I were wrong about you, about everything. I have had a lot of time to think, and I miss what we had." I gently removed her hand. "Amanda, what we had was not real. It was a transaction to you, a means to an end. I have moved on, and you should too." "Is there someone new?" she asked, eyes scanning for clues. "Yes," I admitted. Someone genuine. She nodded, tears forming. I understand. Just know that I am sorry, truly sorry. If you ever change your mind, I will not. I said kindly, but firmly. I wish you well, Amanda, but our chapter is closed. As I walked away, I felt a final weight lift from my shoulders. There was no satisfaction in seeing her brought low, only recognition that we had both found our levels. Over the next year, our company expanded beyond our wildest expectations. We went public with a valuation that made headlines. Jake bought a yacht. I established a scholarship fund for students from my old neighborhood, providing opportunities I had struggled to find. Catherine and I grew closer, her steady presence, a balm to my once wounded heart. She loved me for who I was, not what I could provide. On our 1-year anniversary, I took her to the lake behind my house at sunset. You know, this is the first place I have ever lived that truly feels like home, I told her as we walked along the shore. Because of all the fancy gadgets, she teased. I shook my head. Because it is filled with honest relationships. The people who come here, who share this space with me, they are here because they want to be with me, not what I can give them. She squeezed my hand. That is how it should be. I stopped walking and turned to face her. The setting sun painted the sky in spectacular colors, reflecting off the water. Catherine, these months with you have taught me what real partnership means. You have never asked me to be anything other than who I am. I knelt on the sandy shore, pulling a small box from my pocket. Every part of this was different from my proposal to Amanda. No audience, no performance, just 2 people, and a question asked from wholeness rather than need. Would you share your life with me? I asked, simply. Not this house, or my success, but the journey ahead, whatever it brings. Her yes was immediate, her tears genuine. As I slid the ring on her finger, I realized how far I had come from that humiliated groom, standing silent at his own wedding reception. The journey from that moment to this one had been painful but necessary. Barbara's cruel toast had ultimately freed me from a life of slow degradation. Her attempt to shame me had instead set me on the path to genuine success and authentic love. I no longer needed to prove my worth to anyone. The validation I had once desperately sought from Amanda and her family now seemed hollow compared to the quiet joy of being truly known and valued. What were your lowest moments in life that ultimately led to your greatest victories? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need to hear that sometimes rejection is the universe pointing you towards something better. Thank you for listening to my journey from humiliation to happiness. Remember, the people who truly deserve a place in your life will never make you feel like you need to earn it. I will see you in the next video.